I want to talk about failure. I know what you think. You think you see this image that I put out on social media, or you followed me, or you saw some of my TED Talks or whatever, and you have this idea that all I know is success. You feel like in your mind, T-Pain is playing and all I do is win, 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 no matter what. But let me be clear with you. I have failed. I have failed often, I have failed fast, and I have failed hard. Now I run a successful business, ExecuPrep, that you know about. You've seen ExecuPrep, you've seen my brand, Dethra, Giles, and you know those things to be successful. And that's the business I have now. But let's talk about before that. Before that, I had a little known business called The Pleasant Pillow. The Pleasant Pillow was anything but pleasant. It was a massive failure. To this day, my husband and I are trying to get rid of some of these herbal pillows that we thought we were going to successfully sell. And I started this business and it was a disaster. I mean, it was horrible. It went down in flames. It didn't stop me from trying again and starting another business. And it did not stop me from going towards failure again. Here's something I hate to hear people say. They say failure is not an option. Failure has to always be an option if you're going to be successful. Because when failure is not an option, you'll stay right there in an itty bitty box and you won't do anything outside. And outside of that comfort level, outside of that little comfort box that you've built for yourself, that is where the real magic happens. But the real magic happens right next to the option of failure. So here are 3 things I want you to think about. When you think about, should I fail? Should I risk it? Should I try it? What if I fail? I might fail, I might not. I want you to put 3 things in perspective. Number 1, I want you to see failure as a stepping stone and not a stumbling block. I learned more about running a successful business when I failed the Pleasant Pillow than I did in any of my successful ventures. That Pleasant Pillow, it taught me so much about learning who my avatar was, learning about the market, learning about market share, learning about competitors, learning about pricing. I'm able to properly price my product and services now because I failed at the Pleasant Pillow. Think about this in your career. What are you afraid of failing at? Hey, I tried this career out, I failed, so I'm gonna stick to what I know and stick to what I like and stick to what I'm good at. But what if your $1 million career is over here in the place where you're afraid to fail? Because you know what you're doing right now isn't your $1 million career because you're not making $1 million doing it. But you can stay right here in your little comfort box and keep your salary where you're comfortable, keep your benefits where you feel okay, or you could step out and do something amazing. You could step out and change future generations. You could step out and give your kids a picture of what it's like to live on the edge and be happy. Or you could stay here and be mediocre. So first, see failure as a stepping stone as opposed to a stumbling block. Number 2, get an accurate view of what failure has meant for you. Here's what we do. We think I failed and so my life was damaged. It was completely altered. Everything is bad, and everything bad that's happening to me now is happening because I failed back then. Stop it. I just pause, period, end of sentence. Stop it. Your life is not where it is right now because of one failure. Listen, everything that we've done in our life has gotten us to this point, but it's not what happened to you, it's what you made that thing mean. Because you can have 2 people that have the very same experience but totally different outcomes. Why? Because each person made that thing mean something to them. There were people that came along with me and they failed a business at the same time that I failed the Pleasant Pillow. They got the idea that, you know what? I'm not a good business person. Business is not for me. I would prefer to work for someone else for the rest of my life because I am not an entrepreneur. What I got was, I did this wrong. There has to be another better way to do it. So I'm going to try it again, look at what I messed up in, do it differently, and then start another business. We had the same experience, we had different outcomes. I want you to get an accurate view of what that failure meant and give it an interpretation that says, I can do this better the next time and I don't have to fail again. And the third one is I want you to put your failures in perspective. We talk about failures as if we do them all the time. If you just ask yourself, how many times have you failed versus how many times you've been successful? If you're like most people, you've been successful way more times than you failed, but you've made your failures so big that they outweigh your successes. You've made your failures so large that no matter how good you do something else, nothing will measure up to that one time that you did something wrong. Put your failures in perspective. I guarantee you, they are not nearly as bad as you've made them seem. They don't matter nearly as much as you've made them in your life, and they don't have to keep impacting your life in the future. You're still harping on something you failed at 10 years ago. Baby, stop. That was 10 years ago. Let it go. You have clothes from 10 years ago, and you keep trying to squeeze into them clothes. Let's be real. Those clothes do not fit. Let them go. Let those clothes go, just like you need to let that failure go. Put it in proper perspective. So let me give you the 3 again. Number 1, see your failures as a stepping stone and not a stumbling block. Number 2, get an accurate view of what your failures meant to you. And number 3, put your failures into the proper perspective. That will change your life. And I want you to walk forward knowing that failure is an option, but it is not a final. Just because you fail does not mean it's over. It means that you are building steps to get to your success. Because in every failure, we learn. And in every failure, we get closer to our goal. As the book says, fail forward. Don't fall backwards, fail forward. So every failure gets you closer to where you truly want to be.